Hi, y'all. A couple of people have asked me questions about grants and grant writing. So I want to give you a little bit of advice on that. And first, let me give you my background. So when I was working, I spent a considerable amount of time volunteering for nonprofits. So I work with the community investment team, which is an organization that goes out and volunteers their time to nonprofits that need a specific skill set. So that could be something in strategy or marketing, or if they need a website built or something like that. We go in and we basically volunteer our services to provide the nonprofit with what they need. I also work with United Way of Greater Atlanta for over 10 years in different positions. I worked as a community investment team member, which was the team that was responsible for making recommendations to the board of directors for funding for nonprofits that applied for funding to United Way. I was also an independent panel reviewer. We went out to the nonprofits and interviewed them and reviewed their applications and submitted our recommendations as to whether or not they should be approved or not. In addition to that, when I worked for Nationwide, I was part of the decision making committee that granted funds from the Nationwide Foundation. So and I've served on several, well, not several, pretty much every board in Atlanta for the most part. I was board chair for United Way. For American Red Cross 2 terms. I volunteered with the Atlanta Fire Foundation, just a ton. So I have a very extensive nonprofit background. For-profit grants, which is what we're talking about in this space, it's a very different application process. When you're applying for a grant for a nonprofit, you basically have to it's a very extensive application process, because not only are you building your case, but you have to provide forecasting for the money. You have to show how you're going to use the money in detail. And so it's a very extensive process. When you're applying for a grant for your business, it's not like that. When you're applying for a grant for your business, and basically to find these grants, just Google. Don't overcomplicate it. Google. If you're looking for a grant for whatever you're looking for a grant for, get on Google and Google it. That's all you have to do. When you find it, there will be application windows when you can apply for the grant. And pretty much every grant for a for-profit business is going to ask you a question, and you have to answer the question. Don't overcomplicate it. If it asks you, why do you want the money? Answer the question. Why do you want the money? It's your business, so you should be able to answer that. Now, I always recommend saving your answers, because most of the applications are going to ask you the same questions over and over. If you save your answers, then you're able to tailor that answer to that specific application, but you don't have to really sit there and think of it, the whole thing all over again. And it kind of helps you to prick your thoughts when you save your answers. So I always save my answers, and sometimes I use them, sometimes I don't. Sometimes I just answer the question. And so you want to be as thorough as you can, but more importantly, you're basically convincing these people as to why they should give you the money. And so you have to have a compelling argument as to why they should give it to you. It's not just because you have a grand idea and you started a business and you want some money. It doesn't work like that. What makes you different? Why should I give you money? That's like me coming to you and saying, hey, can I have $20,000 to start a business? What's the first thing you're going to ask me? For what? And why should I give it to you? And so the same thing applies. When you're applying for a grant, think of it from the other person's perspective. Why should they give you the money? What makes your business different? And think through the questions that they're asking you, and answer them complete. Make sure that you use spell check. Make sure that you're using correct punctuation. Make sure that you have good sentence structure. There's no reason for any type of, sentence issues when you have Word and you can do a simple editor to check your spelling and all that. Do not send an application in with misspelled words. That is a huge no-no. Take the time to make sure that you don't have any misspelled words and that it's grammatically correct. And think through your answers. If you have some type of story behind why you're doing what you're doing, let's just say you started your trucking company because you're trying to create generational wealth for your family. That's your story. So you take that and you expound on that and you provide greater detail on that. And you're basically, again, convincing them to give you the money. So you go through the application, read the question, and answer the question. That's all you got to do. You don't have to do any forecasting. They're not asking you for budgets. They're not asking, it's not specified funds, so it has to be used for a certain thing. Once you get the money, you use it for whatever you want to use it for. But you have to be you have to be compelling. And so that's the thing. Getting a grant is not hard. You just need to do your due diligence to make sure that you have a compelling argument, you're answering the questions that they ask you, that you have complete sentences with good punctuation, and that you just have a compelling story. And it's not going to take one grant. You need to get 10, 15 grants a week in the pipeline so that you can get one approved. It's not applying for one and thinking you're going to get approved. That doesn't work either, because you got thousands of people out there applying. And so you have to really think through, how do I make myself different from all these other people that are applying? And you have to have a volume of grants in the pipeline to get one approved. It's not just I'm gonna go apply for a grant today and think I'm gonna get. No, you need to stay on it, and you need to have at least 5 to 10 in the pipeline every week, and you need to be consistent with it. And like I said, Google is your friend. Just Google it. It's not hard. Google.